Welcome to another episode of People of Data, where we get to highlight the wonderful people of data. These are our data leaders from various industries, geographies, and disciplines. Discover how companies are using data, their achievements, and the challenges they face. Today on the show, we have Anaïs Ghelfi, who's the head of data platform at Malt. Malt is, as we all know, a leading freelance consulting marketplace in Europe and the Middle East. Anaïs oversees data engineering, analytics, ML ops. In prior experiences, she spent 5 years Bernard Richard, where she built the company's data platform and led the implementation of their data transformation initiatives. She's also a strong advocate for women in tech and diversity in the workplace. Welcome to the show, Anais.
Thanks you for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here. Very excited about diving in. So, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great, let's do it. What does Malt do? How does Malt make money? How does data play a role in helping Malt do what it wants to do?
Yeah, that's a big question. So first of all, Malt is the leading freelance marketplace in Europe. So on Malt, we have over 70,000 of companies at all sizes, so from small to enterprise businesses that find the external talents they need in Malt's community of more than 700,000 freelancers today. The core of our marketplace is really our matching algorithm. Our end goal is to find the perfect match between a client's project and a freelancer. And as you can imagine, in a company like that, which is a pure tech company, a data team has a really central role in the company. So first of all, we directly contribute to the product itself because we develop and evolve everything related to matching algorithm, which is the heart of the product, and also developing features that are using AI. So there is really a first contribution on the product itself. Second part, as a data team, they are analyst team, that are really translating company strategy into measurable KPI. So then you have everything related to analytics, reporting, data warehouse, and so on. And the last part, I'll say, is we do build a data platform to enable all the data projects. And we built on top of that what I'm calling data products. So it's really like specific product to answer a specific business need. So if I give you one example, or maybe two examples, we built an internal applications that enables anyone in the company to use Gen AI. So you ask a question about the product, you have the answer. There are many, many other use cases. So that's one example. Another one would be that we are building a custom data products to help the sales team generate leads. So of course that requires enrichment of data, collection of data, and so on. So I'd say really that this data team plays different role in the company, but we do support a lot of part of the business as of today.
One of the applications of what you are doing is fundamentally contributing back towards product, because on the matching and algorithm side, I would love to dive into that deeper as we get later on in the show. What I would love to know is, what's the culture like at Malt? And, what's the overall macro culture you see in the company, and how does this really translate to the culture which you're building inside the data and analytics group?
Yeah. I think we really have a culture. So we are a tech company. So Malt has been built 10 years ago by two person, one guy who was a CTO. So he was really building the platform and he was freelancer itself. And then another guy that was, really leading the vision and the product. So having said that, the culture is really built on top tech and product. With a culture that really is focusing on craft, innovation, empowering team, and so on. And I think as of today, we really still have this culture where we are a tech company, we can innovate, engineer, and products. It is at the heart of our business. So we are really building on top of that. And then when it comes to a data team, of course, you can imagine when you build a company, you don't have a data team 10 years ago. And this is something that is coming after. You have a few product analysts that is helping product manager to find insight. And then you end up having a bigger data team that is building a platform, that is building data warehouse, product, matching algorithm, and so on. And I'd say that in the data team, the culture is very much similar to the culture of the founders because we are really focusing on craft innovation. So it's something really important for us. And also making sure we can take risk and fail fast. So this is also something we really have in the team. So I'll say that the data team culture is basically like an extent of the culture of the company, which is mainly focusing on tech and product.
What's one aspect of the data team culture which is different? We see a lot of companies where the culture of the founders sort of top down is really what sort of permeates. But at the same time, teams have their own individuality and their own quirks in the way of doing things. Would love to kind of hear what is one of those sort of quirks which the data team at Malt is sort of has. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So as a data team, and as I explained a bit earlier, we are really working with a lot of teams, so supporting a different part of the business. And I think this is also the strength of our team is to be as transversal, meaning you work with different people in different businesses in the organization. So you have a transversal view that allow you, if I come back to the culture, talking about innovation, for instance, allow you to see, okay, here we can improve stuff. And I can give you an example later if you are interested in. Coming back to the product, we see that we'd like to improve our internal efficiency because we see there are a lot of manual process. The business is scaling. We still have manual processes. We're not efficient. We need a lot of people to do stuff. And when you look at that as a data team, because we are engineers, we are like, okay, we can do something about that. So if I take the example of internal efficiency, something that we can do is like, for instance, earlier this year, we came up with a project saying we do believe that Gen AI could help all our teams being more efficient in a company. We pitch that. The people, they say, okay, just try, let's see if it works. So we tried a POC earlier this year, and now we have a product that is fully developed, available to all the companies and used by all the employees internally. And I think it's a good example, and then we can come back to that later. I think it's a great example of the project we deliver in the data team. Looking at that, it really translates the culture is like how to be innovative. It's not a top-down approach. It's something really bottom-up that you identify, and then the culture lets you do that. So I think that's, how I will explain, how the values can be translated in the day-to-day.
I'm super interested in the Gen AI use case which you have. What's an example which somebody would go ask, of this product on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So this project started with a first pain point, which is when you work at Malt, the product is expanding very fast. We have a lot of new features and all the team cannot keep up with that. Because the content is spread on Google Drive, Notion, Slack, and so on. And we have a culture where you just ask your colleague in Slack and everybody is losing time. So we started from them and say, okay, we have a product knowledge base that is kind of well structured. We embark the different people on the product side, on the customer care side, and we built RAG and a bot that we put in Slack where anyone in the company can come and ask a question. So I'll give you an example. At Malt, we are working with different countries. So you can be like, okay, if I have a freelancer based in Belgium, can you work for a French company? And this type of things like that. And basically this project is really building the technical stack, embarking the right people because they know the knowledge much better than we do. And then we build that. We open the tool to 15 people, and now we have 400 people using it as of today. So here is really building the capabilities, which is using Gen AI and leading a project that is bringing value. And when you have one use case that is working, you can just expand to many, many use cases. And as of today, for this project, we have more than 10 use cases, available in the company.
That's awesome. Talking about data and your data team, what does the data stack look like? What does the data team look like? How big is the company? How big is the data team? What's the breakup?
So as a baseline at Malt, we are between like 500 and 600 people, like employee working mostly in Europe. Looking at the data team, it's between 25 and 30 people. In the data team, you have three big teams. The first one is the data analyst team. So like where you have all the data analysts working with the business and the product. The second team is the data science team, where you have the machine learning engineers and the research engineers. And the last one is the data platform team, where you can find the data engineers, analytics engineers, and MLOps. So yeah.
And what in the 25-person data team, you said, how big would your data platform team be versus your ML team versus the analytics team?
Yeah. If I think of the number of people, so the data platform team, it's 4 data engineers, 3 analytics engineers, and 2 MLOps. So it's really all these people, they are like building the foundations to make everything available for all the other team. In the data science team, you have 5 person and data analysis between 5 and 7. So the ratio is quite spread across the different teams.
Yeah. And what does the data platform look like today? What are some of the tools you use?
Yeah, so the technical stack basically is on top of Google Cloud Services, so Google Cloud Platform. I'll say it's a mix of Google Cloud Services, and if I give you a few examples, the backbone, the data warehouse is on BigQuery. Orchestration, you have Composer, which is the Airflow managed by GCP. And then when it comes to reporting, we have Looker. So here are, the 3 main components. But we do rely and deploy a lot of open source tools. To give you a few examples, we are using MLflow for, the models. We are using Quadrant as a vector database. We are using LangFuse as a LLM monitoring tool. And then today, when it comes to also the data stack and transformation, we have an in-house tool that we developed, and we are looking at integrating dbt or SQL Mesh, for instance. But it's basically Google Cloud plus open source services we deployed.
Yeah. How about data ingestion? How are you moving the data into BigQuery, especially for the things outside of GCP?
Yeah. So we are using 2 tools today. So we have Airbyte, which is an open source tool that manages most of our data pipeline. And for some other pipeline, we have Fivetran. So it's Fivetran for some pipelines and Airbyte for, I'll say, 90% of the others.
Awesome. Very exciting. People of Data is brought to you by 5x. It's no surprise that the data space is one of the most fragmented industries with over 500 vendors in 30 plus categories. The analogy we use is data vendors are selling car parts. Imagine walking into a Honda and instead of selling you a Civic, they sell you an engine and you have to build your own car. That's exactly what's happening in the data world today. 5x is an all-in-one data platform that's incredibly easy to use. We make it easy to consolidate your data from your different systems, clean it, structure it, model it, and make it available through dashboards, reporting, and AI. Whether you're building a data platform from scratch, filling in missing pieces, or need expert data services, 5x has you covered. Imagine a world where any team can become a data and AI team in just a few clicks. If you're interested in making sure you don't get left behind in this new world of data and AI, get a demo at 5x.co. What is, and I think you already kind of tackled on this before in some ways with the LLM project, with the Gen AI project, but what is one achievement which, as a team you're very proud of?
Yeah, so I have 2. Sorry, I'm cheating a bit, but no, the first part is I say one of the biggest achievements is really building a data product. It's not only like doing a project and then leaving it. We are really thinking building it as a product. Who are the personas? We have internal communication, so we did a logo with the marketing, a song. We really package everything into a product with a clear purpose, so everybody in the company knows what's the name, what it does. I think that's one of the big achievements. I think it's really important, especially when you work in the data platform team, to have your work well understood by the company. Okay. So I'd say that's one first achievement. And the second part is the technical achievement, because to build that, technically speaking, it's you need MLOps, you need data engineering. So I'd say it's a mix of different skills, and also when you're using LLM, everything is new, so we tested new tools. And I think what we built is really something that is solid, robust, and can scale to almost unlimited use cases. And technically speaking, when you build something like that can scale, it's also something like the team can be proud of, and I'm particularly proud of.
And if you had to go quantify the ROI of these projects, how would you measure that today? Because I know, that's another area which you're like super proud of.
Yeah, that's a super interesting question because everybody is asking you, okay, how much should we invest? Like, what's the ROI? And it's really, really complex to calculate the ROI when you use Gen AI for knowledge. Because how do you measure that someone is not asking a question directly on Stack to a colleague and is using your tool instead? It's really, really hard to measure. So what we did in that case, we focused on another use case where we could show the ROI. I give you an example. So we work with the same products with the customer care team to help them draft the answer of the tickets we are receiving on the support. So this tool is also drafting answer for our clients and freelancers. And here the ROI is much easier to calculate because you have the average time to enter a ticket. We put also labels to say if it's good or bad for us to really improve the LLM. And then the last part is the number of tickets you can handle per month. So we are still scaling, but I can give you a first ROI, which I think is really interesting. So we decreased by 50% the time to handle a ticket from a customer care representative, which is a first step because we have a lot of improvement to do. But I think that's a really good KPI to keep following.
Yeah, that's incredible. Do you have plans? This is a very fixed use case, which, on customer success, on customer service, you can measure. As you think about sort of general adoption of this tool, are there any other use cases which are particularly interesting as you think about sort of scaling this out, which you can also go attribute an ROI on?
Yeah. Another way to calculate an ROI. So I'm not really answering your question, but I'll explain my chain of thoughts. Is when coming back to the knowledge, right? Before we were in a place where when you wanted to find information about the product and very specific question, you will like go on Notion, spend a lot of time and ask questions to someone directly on Stack or open a ticket. And a KPI I'm tracking for the product knowledge adoption is the number of questions I got per week and the number of total users. Because I'm thinking like if someone is coming back, it means that the person has found value in the product, right? Otherwise you come back, you come once and then you don't come back. And what I can tell you is the monthly average users we have is quite insane because it's as of today would be like between 200 and 300 person. Knowing that in the company, so it's almost half of the company that is using the tool for product, specifically product knowledge every month. So I'll say it's difficult to calculate the ROI, so the time we save, but at least we know that we are bringing value. And another way to do it, it's NPS.
Yes, that makes a ton of sense. What is one challenge which you're currently facing, which is something which you're very invested in solving?
So I'll say it's not the most like I'll say sexy subject, but I think when you work in the data platform team, sometimes you have to build foundations that nobody sees, but that's really important to do when it comes to like stabilizing, making sure we scale and so on. And something I really like to focus on, and we start focusing on, is really developing the data product part. Because for me, building a data product, you really showcase how strong is your platform, right? Because when you build that, you answer a business use case, you have ROI, but then you are leveraging all the capabilities the team is already building and where all the stack is on top. So I think something that I really like to foster is to make sure like we build more data products. So with a concrete use case. And also I'd like to make the user more and more autonomous on our stack. So meaning you're coming tomorrow, you're like, okay, I'd like to automate this task. I'd like to use the products you've done on AI because I want, let's say I'm a sales, I want to customize my sales workflow. I like these persons to come, pick the components on sales service part and try, test. And if it works, okay, we can discuss on scaling. So this is really something about self-service platform to make people autonomous.
That makes a ton of sense. And as you think about this project, you have, sort of how long have you been at it, and what would be the next metric as you think about adoption of this?
So looking at the product we built that is enabling everybody to use GenAI, where I told you we have a knowledge focus, which is on different departments in the organization, and another one which is on how do we build automation with that, with the customer care example I gave you. I think a next step of that is really to see what are the other workflow we can simplify. And I can think of one. We know on Malt you do transaction. So we have a team that is focusing on everything related to payment delay, problems in financing and so on. So one of the next steps will be to say, okay, can we work with them and empower them as we did with the customer care to really make sure we reduce efficiency. And then it's really easy to find ROI behind that because you look at the number of requests handled, complexity of requests and stuff like that. So that will be another use case. And of course, you can expand it to many, many aspects of the processes.
That makes a ton of sense. Anaïs, thank you so much for being on the show and adding value to our listeners today.
Thank you for having me.